Think we're live. Hey everyone, Hassan here. Welcome to the world of Ha. It's time for another Power Rangers HyperForce live discussion. I am joined today by my friend Doug.
Think we're
What's
live.
up, Doug?
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Hassan here. Welcome.
Oh,
We got some.
it wasn't me.
Some echo. No. So we are streaming at you live on YouTube, and Doug and I, we've been talking about HyperForce for a while, but we can't do it with just the two of us. There's just too much cool stuff happening. So we need more cool people to discuss with us as well. So we got Brian here.
Heyo.
And we also have the very mysterious Chris from Long's Toys.
Hello. I'm so mysterious I don't have a webcam.
Very mysterious, very poor. I don't know, either one.
Mysterious sounds a lot nicer, so let's go with that.
So we are here to discuss Power Rangers HyperForce. We have a YouTube chat as well, so hello everybody in the chat. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of people in the chat. Darth Sonic, Edwin, Phantom Ninja Gaming, Harold Skits, Crimson Galaxy, Brandon Baker, Crazy Vlogs and Mario, Edward Sanchez Productions, Mr. Yellow, Toku Nation, Francisco Garcia, etc. There's a lot of people. Greg says hello. Hello, Greg. That's what Chris.
Oh yes, say hello to Greg for us.
Yes, Greg. Thank you for all the amazing toys from Bandai. Potentially this. I don't know if you helped make this happen, but thank you. In your honor, I'm holding it here just because. So yeah. So we're here to discuss Power Rangers HyperForce. So usually, every few episodes, there's so much that's happening and we want to talk about it. So this is going to be episodes 16 through 19. So the last 4 episodes of Power Rangers HyperForce. If you want to hear about our thoughts on the previous episodes, you can go back to the previous live discussions that we did as well. So by the way, Mr. Yellow, are you guys having a staff meeting? I saw that. That's great. Nice. Okay, my arm's getting tired. I gotta put this down. But yeah. Yeah, definitely. If you don't know what Power Rangers HyperForce is, super quick summary. It is a collaboration between Saban Brands and Hyper RPG. It's like a tabletop RPG game for Power Rangers. And it's an official season of the show. It's a sequel to Power Rangers Time Force, and it's super, super, super cool. If you have not seen it yet, what are you doing? Go catch up. Go watch it. It's awesome. If you want a longer recap, you can go check out my video that's called What is HyperForce, appropriately titled. But yeah, we're just going to jump right in, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
I also want to give props to Chris here for catching up. He did what, you watched it all in the last week, I think, or how long?
Yeah, I started out slow and I was really behind, and I think I was kind of whenever I had time, episode 3, episode 4, and then I started to really get into it right around, I want to say 5 or 6, and I think I did all the rest of them in a week and a half. So it's what, 10 episodes or so, maybe 10 plus.
That's very impressive.
Thank you.
That is dedication right there.
It got really good.
Yeah,
It did.
right.
That is true. So we're gonna pick up with episode 16 titled Homecoming. And so, by the way, spoilers, obviously, if that's not evident yet, but I'm using the summaries from Wikipedia, so that's what I will be going through to follow along. So, the HyperForce Rangers, with Joe recovering in the medical bay, follow the stolen time ship 2 years further into the future to the year 2027, where they arrive at an off-world SPD correctional facility on the planet Y37. Does anybody know? Is that a reference to something, or is it just a random? I didn't know.
I don't know. All I can think of is KO35 from In Space. So it's another letter and digit 30s.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, maybe. So the leader breaks into the facility and frees the SPD A squad from their imprisonment for police corruption and treason against SPD by aligning with the Trubian Empire. SPD A squad in HyperForce.
Uh-huh.
That is so cool.
Yeah, especially because the Hyperforce team doesn't like they know that there are other squads, but they don't really know much about them. So it's cool that they ended up getting to run into them.
Yeah, for sure. I was kind of hoping that we'd get more into like their background to some of the characters and stuff, but even still, it was very interesting nonetheless. Jack suggests that it may be in the team's best interest to capture the A Squad's Red Ranger Charlie and interrogate her for information. Vesper, however, has another plan and builds a pair of bombs with the hope of destroying the facility against the other Hyperforce Rangers' better judgment.
I feel like just saying Vesper did something against everyone else's better judgment is kind of redundant at this point, but it makes for a lot of fun.
That is true. As A Squad infiltrates the watchtower and harasses the guard, the Hyperforce Rangers discuss the best way to infiltrate the facility. Ignoring the conversation, Vesper throws caution to the wind and lets out the battle cry of Leroy Jenkins as she jumps into action. The remaining Hyperforce Rangers immediately jump into action to aid Vesper, but Chloe misjudges her jump and ends up in the moat instead. Vesper threatens to blow up A Squad with her bombs, forcing them to retreat. So basically, I'm not going to go through. I'm looking at this. I'm like already tired, even just looking at the summary.
It's very detailed, so props to who wrote it.
Yeah.
Basically, let's see here. So there's a whole kerfuffle with the A Squad, a little fight basically, and then an unknown SPD Green Ranger shows up to help out, who is then revealed to be Detective Song from a previous episode.
2 years in the future.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We finally got our Green Ranger slot.
Right?
What did you guys think when the SPD Green showed up? Like, who'd you think it was immediately, like at first?
Bridge.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Like, it was hard for me because, I mean, I know this would have been at a time where Sky was either red or promoted even further because we don't really know the timeline for that. So I'm like, Green was an empty slot. Who is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then it was Song, and I was really happy about that. That's a good choice. I like it. It's canon in my head. I don't care about this whole like, oh, Hyperforce is canon to itself. Hyperforce is canon to everything.
Yeah.
It is a canon.
I'm still on that. I'm going to just keep accepting that. Because
Right?
if I accept that, then Batman exists in the Power Rangers universe, and I'm not willing to give that up.
That's true. We had a Batman Ninja Turtle crossover comics. Well, to be fair, we've had Batman Power Rangers already too. What am I talking about?
There you go. I like that it was Detective Song. I really like this character that they're fleshing out in Detective Song. And I think it seems like Malika really enjoys playing her too. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, I was really hoping she would still have the SPD Green Ranger powers in episode 19, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But we'll get there, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was definitely pretty cool to see that recurring character. So she comes back and sort of, briefs the team on what's been going on. So the basically Vesper starts to shut down, feeling overwhelmed, emotionally, and homesick. The other Hyperforce Rangers help her back to the time ship. Enraged at Hyperforce interfering yet again. So the leader has stolen time ship. So, wait, what? Okay, sorry. This Wikipedia article doesn't make grammatically is not making sense right now. So they discover that the tracker that John planted on board the stolen time ship. With the tracker destroyed and the stolen Morpher signal also gone, the stolen time ship slips back into the time stream. With no clue what to do next, the Hyperforce Rangers head back to the Time Force Academy in the year 3017. So I guess before we jump into that again, we don't really talk too much about the A Squad, just the fact that we had them there as well. I mean, that was cool to explore the A Squad again, like just to have them back.
As someone who is obsessive over SPD, yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was cool that they threw them in there because they didn't have to, like this is definitely an episode where they do a battle first and then story after, and sometimes they mess with that sort of structure. So they could have just dove right back into the homecoming element of it, but it was cool that we got the SPD stuff or the A Squad stuff.
I think we're forgetting the most important character of this whole section, Manny the janitor. Shout outs to him.
I love how many little characters there are. There's like so many little characters. They all need their own Wikipedia page.
They're gonna make they're gonna make a separate team, and Boom is gonna be the leader of them. It's gonna be like Boom, Manny the janitor. It's gonna be awesome.
That would be great. That would be great. Mr. Yellow said in the chat, Malika said she wanted to use the A Squad names but didn't get a chance. And I think she said that she was going to use the sort of names that the fandom had given them, basically. So those could potentially have become canon in, whatever canon, it is, I guess. But that would have been cool, if they would have been able to throw in the names. But it would have been... interesting though, of like, wait, hold on, let's stop fighting. What is your name? We need you to state your name, first and last name, please, for the record.
That would have been brilliant.
State your name. Why do you look like a walrus?
But yeah, so after that whole situation, they head back to the year 3017 to the Time Force Academy, and so this is the point, I think, when Yoshi is able to join in the episode because he was running late. So he joins in for the second half of the episode to reprise his role as Joe. So as they all come in, Joe debriefs. The HyperForce Rangers meet up with their former classmate Abigail. From the premiere episode.
I keep waiting for something to be up with Abigail, like she's going to secretly be evil this whole time or something.
Yes, right?
I just feel like something's lurking there. They're going to surprise us.
Don't trust Abigail.
Abigail and Alliance Leader start with the same letter.
Coincidence? I think not.
Perhaps to the untrained eye.
If you rearrange the letters of Abigail, you get nothing.
Abigail.
Let's go somewhere, maybe. But I think Malika in the fireside chat afterwards, because everybody was like, Abigail's suspicious. She's like, why are you guys like suspicious about Abigail? But she's like, you guys give me ideas sometimes. So if it wasn't Abigail before, if the Alliance Leader wasn't Abigail before, maybe it is now. So
we could have just willed Abigail into being evil.
And we're all taking credit for it.
Exactly. So Vesper and Chloe fill in Abigail on the fun that they've had experimenting with illegal substances of the 31st century, such as sugar, caffeine, and trans fats.
I forgot about that. She's so appalled. What is candy?
That was great. So Abigail informs them what's been happening with the Alliance and the fact that additional time ships have been stolen. So the 4 cadets officially then graduate in like an informal ceremony, becoming full-fledged Time Force officers, and Jack is also promoted a rank, which is really cool. And I know that I think they said that they had wanted Erin Cahill to actually be in this episode to do that, but due to like a scheduling conflict or something, she wasn't able to. So instead, they had Abigail kind of, fulfill that role, which would have been cool. But still, I guess they're officially graduates, which is pretty neat.
Yeah. Did we get much in the way of like the current condition of their school? Like, I don't remember if they really addressed that at all.
Not really, from what I remember.
Seemed like everything was back to business as usual, right?
We'll let you graduate early since your classroom is currently on fire.
Well, there was a moment, right, where did they tell us how far after they jumped back? Like how much time had passed in the year 3017? I don't remember.
I don't really think they did. And that's the funny thing about time travel. They could literally be 5 minutes from when they left.
Yeah.
They said that like the way that they're treating it, like while they're gone, time still passes. So like when they come back, time has passed the same amount of time that they've been gone.
Okay, so they just jump back to the point so that they're sort of in line with everything else. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But do we know how long they've been gone? Because I mean, it's a week to week for us, but is that the next day for them?
Not exactly from what I know.
So
I'm sure somebody's like timelined it out.
Joe Roving probably.
Yeah,
check his website. I'm sure
Joe probably has.
Which props to him on including HyperForce in that and everything. Like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly, but so from here, the HyperForce Rangers decide to split up to handle some personal matters before returning to their mission. So Vesper and Jack go to see Vesper's parents to confront them, about the fact that she is an android. And so I remember she goes in and she introduces Jack as her husband or boyfriend or something.
Her husband.
This is my husband. Jack's like, whoa.
It was just out of nowhere. I love it.
It's so good because like the actual players' reactions to Christina are perfectly exactly what you'd expect the characters' reactions to be to Vesper. like they have no idea what she's gonna say. It's great.
Definitely. Oh man. So they confront Vesper's parents and they learn that she was a synthetic organism pioneered by the late man who was both the creator of the Cyclobot technology and their employer, Dr. Louis Ferrix, which fans of Power Rangers Time Force should know that was Frax.
Mind blown.
Yeah. So Vesper was a creation of Frax.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that they wove that in there, right?
Yeah, anytime they do more drawbacks to the actual show is pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's crazy that like this was one of those points where like something happens where like one of these like made up characters for the show got woven into the history of a well-established Power Rangers character, and you're just like, holy crap, they went there. Like this is so intertwined now.
Yeah, and
that's why it's canon.
Right. Because there's no reason that couldn't have been happening. You know, like we see such a small little bubble of what's going on that they can add whatever they want to the outside of that bubble. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. So they explained that they had rescued a young Vesper from burning to death the night that the lab was destroyed and how she was named for the star in the night sky on that fateful day. Meanwhile, Eddie confronts Bianca, and they mutually decide to break their arranged engagement to be nothing more than business partners and casual friends. So it was kind of neat to kind of see that, side of things and see Eddie sort of wrap things up with that storyline in a way. That was nice that they were able to take the time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
After showing off her Ranger outfit around the Time Force Academy, Chloe confesses to Abigail why she joined Time Force and asks Abigail to search for more information on her parents. Marv and Joe have a heart-to-heart about his secret mission, the suffering that it caused, and how Joe was unaware that his and HyperForce's missions were connected. So they both go to their parents and let them know that Joe was alive. So that was also nice to kind of give them that family reunion moment as well.
Yeah, that was pretty touching.
Yeah, touching for sure. It's kind of intense.
Yeah, it's crazy how the show can go from like these super emotional moments and stuff to this intense edge of your seat, like drama and suspense. Like the show really has such a wide range, which is pretty cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they all have a pretty good talent to be able to convey emotions like that in the couple minute to couple seconds span that they have to like actually play out these tiny little scenes before they quick move on to something else.
Yeah, it's super impressive.
Yeah, definitely. Batmite in the chat says, right, this is the beginning if Chloe never demorphs.
Yeah, the trench coat.
I know.
It's smart. I mean, if you're always in your battleizer, I mean, like you don't have to waste your energy on morphing and stuff. I mean,
Yeah, it's like easily the most meta thing happening in HyperForce, and you can tell that like from a storytelling perspective, Malika's like, I don't know if I'm gonna let you do that, but Chloe's like, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
You're cheating, and then Vesper's like, you're starting to smell.
So I guess every time you demorph, your clothes go through like the dry cleaning or something, apparently, and then
Well,
they just
they become like particles of light, and you can't have dirt on particles of light, so it's a natural dry cleaning process.
Science,
There
everyone.
we go. Explained. A short time later, the HyperForce Rangers meet up, and Vesper has gifts in hand from home. She took her family dog with them, basically. What was the dog's original name? I don't even remember.
Yappy. And apparently Jack is like has a small animal phobia, which is why he has a robot dog instead of a real dog, which is such a weird little detail. And I really hope Malika takes advantage of it. Because that'd be great.
Yeah.
You're trying to give the dog away already, so it's not like she cares that much about it.
I like how they also half the time forget that she has the dog, and then like, oh wait, what happened to the dog? And she's like, oh, I had it here this whole time. Like, they just kept bringing it in.
It's in this pocket dimension with your trench coat. You keep leaving all over the place.
Oh no, I left my trench coat. I grabbed it. It's right here.
So the Rangers they go to the remains of the lab, basically, where they end up meeting other organisms created by Dr. Ferrix. And so they reveal to I just remember Dr. Ferret or something is what she called him. It was funny. They revealed to Vesper that they had witnessed the destruction of the lab 17 years earlier by Rancic. And so they helped Dr. Ferrix rebuild himself into Frax. Vesper vows that she's going to help her siblings get revenge on Rancic for what they had done to their father. So that's kind of crazy to tie in that whole storyline as well with Rancic and stuff, because he, had killed Frax, and just, how they're bringing him into the story, which is pretty crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Now he's got the Frax 5 on his tail.
Indeed. But Batmite in the chat says, and now the dog is Rito, which is a great double reference. Exactly.
Yeah. I had to like jump back 10 seconds because I was like half in and half out when they first said that. And so when someone was like, I'm going to grab Rito, I was like, what did I just miss? Because that is a weird thing to include. And then I realized they were talking about the dog.
Right. Because I think it was like Burrito was the name, and then they just shortened it to Rito, which was like, oh, interesting. So that ends episode 16. And it leads right into the next episode, number 17, entitled Director Rancic. Ooh. So that was very interesting there.
Was 16 the one where she was wearing the wig and the red contacts? Vesper?
Oh, I think it was 17. Because I think, Chris, you and I were watching them at the same time. I think it was the second one of that, so I think it would have been 17.
Okay, I couldn't remember, but either one, whichever one it was, that was awesome. I wish she would do that more often. Those eye contacts were really, really cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. I like that they were sort of cosplaying their characters.
Yeah,
That's
the whole cast, like Polly with the
Paulie's wig is
and
fantastic. I wish he'd wear that all the time.
Oh my gosh. He even like temporarily dyed his beard.
Yeah, I saw that too.
It was like yellow. It's intense. It's dedication.
That's pretty great. So episode 17, Director Rancic. So basically, the HyperForce Rangers, talk to Vesper and let her know, like, hey, your siblings, which their names are Spencer, Rory, Jocelyn, and Josh, are the siblings' names. And so Rancic has, reformed from his criminal ways. If you guys remember the episode, I think it was Reinforcements from the Future was what it was called. It was the Wild Force episode where the Time Force team, came back and that sort of thing, and Rancic helped them out. And so after that, yeah, that was a good team up. And so after that, Rancic, turned good and stuff. And so, the HyperForce Rangers are like, well, let's hold off on getting revenge on Rancic because things have changed and so on. So the Rangers want to investigate, but her siblings become impatient, and so they pressure Vesper to try and get revenge. So Vesper says no, so they try to leave. Joe teleports in front of them and tries to stop them and becomes confrontational. Let's see. Just trying to like skip through this because there's a lot here. One of the kids, Josh, I guess he has a malfunctioning voice box, so Vesper uses the healing charge to repair his ability to speak. And so they try and gain his trust. They use one of Chloe's aged burritos. And let's see.
Well, is this where they try to use the burrito, but Marv ends up scorching it?
Yeah.
So Joe has to like make up for his mistake. I like that.
Exactly. Oh, so then this is interesting. So then the Rangers decide, you know what, we're going to go to City Hall to try and find out where Rancic is. And this is where Joe's like, well, you know what, you guys go on. You guys just do your thing. And they're like, what's going on, Joe? Like, talk to us. And so he reveals that he was basically engaged to Nadira, Rancic's daughter, before he disappeared on a secret mission without telling her. What? They're tying it even more into all this Time Force stuff, which is crazy.
Well, it's interesting because we with Time Force, it's kind of the perfect season to do this with, because most of what we saw from Time Force wasn't in the time that they originate. So they can write so much stuff that we never saw because we weren't in that year, and just say like, oh yeah, no, that was all happening. Mm-hmm. You just never saw it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's true.
Absolutely.
So this is when Vesper's like, oh, wait, I left Yappy at the lab. And Chloe's like, no, you don't. And she pulls out the dog, and it's right there.
Dog.
So basically, so they go to the mutant rehab center's doors, and they're locked. So they learn from Jack's former boss, Chief Patel, that Rancic has taken some rehabilitated mutants to the animal shelter to take care of the animals as part of their rehab therapy. Chief Patel tells Jack that he has to clean out his old office now that he's a ranger. So at the animal shelter, the Rangers confront Rancic about, the synthetics, Vesper's siblings. They learn from Rancic how, he was responsible for the destruction of Dr. Ferrix. So there's, that happening. And Joe, meanwhile, goes to Nadira's house, but then he learns that Nadira's actually gone to the animal shelter, so then he ends up going back over there. At the shelter, Josh, Vesper's sibling, attempts to destroy Rancic, but the Rangers attempt to distract him. Chloe suggests that throwing Josh in a cage might work, but Vesper considers that babysitting may require them having to sit on baby Josh instead.
Oh, she's so good. She's the best.
So Joe arrives to the shelter to talk to Nadira. As Josh informs the Rangers that he has telepathically contacted his siblings to alert them of Rancic's presence. So the Rangers try and protect Rancic, and so a whole bunch of stuff happens here. Let's see. So Vesper ends up going into Josh's mind, and while inside Josh's mind, he informed Vesper that he cannot help, but he wants revenge due to his current programming. So Vesper promises Josh that she'll help reprogram him. It's this whole interesting struggle with, she just met her siblings and stuff, and so, all these conflicted emotions, and just seeing how, Christina as Vesper played off of that was really interesting.
It's very real. It feels like a very real situation where Vesper has had a family for a very long time and then learns she has more family and has to sort of wrestle with, I know I'm supposed to feel a certain way and I know I'm supposed to feel connected in a certain way, but I don't actually know these people yet. So it's a really compelling piece of story for her to wrestle with.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so much is going on with this whole thing, and so she ends up transferring her memories, of love, family, and friendship into Josh, and so, he calms down, and so then they try and take care of the other siblings, and so on, and all this stuff is happening. So Vesper then complicates things even further by telling Eddie how they can never be more than friends, all while kissing him. So
Yeah.
Eddie's like, what?
It was so
You know, he's
random
heartbroken.
too. She's like,
Classic Vesper.
she's always like, "Oh, I know how to solve a problem. I have to make Eddie feel bad." I'm like, why does that solve the problem you're currently facing?
That's
Eddie's
for
never
logic.
allowed to have happiness.
Yeah, and it's just random in the middle.
know,
All
poor
this
Eddie.
fighting is going on, and she's like, "Oh, hold on, I have to break his heart first. Okay, now I go back over here." And then she like kissed her brother, and I'm like, "What's happening?"
It's all over the place. You know, so they end up calming down the situation and so on. And so Vesper tells her siblings she can never be part of their family as she never grew up with them. So she decides she needs some time alone, that sort of thing. Joe decides to stay behind for a bit to finish talking to Nadira and Rancic. Marv and Eddie return to Time Force Academy to prepare the time ship for departure, while Chloe and Jack go back to City Hall to clean out Jack's old office. So as he reminisces about, you know, his beat cop days with Chloe, Chief Patel and Jack's old cop buddies show up to give Jack a proper send-off for his new promotion. As they continue to talk, Jack learns from Chief Patel that there's a janitor by the name of Stephen Lang that is currently in custody who seems to have intimate knowledge of what the Alliance has in plan. Is Stephen Lang a reference to something? Because I feel like that name sounds incredibly familiar to me.
Isn't that Ant-Man?
Is it that? Maybe that's what it is.
Oh, he has a different first name, I think, right? But Lang for sure.
Scott,
Yeah.
Scott Lang. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's Ant-Man's
Maybe that's
brother,
what it is.
Steve, his normal-sized brother.
They call him Cant-Man.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Oh man. So Jack contacts the other HyperForce Rangers about the potential lead. As he and Chloe interrogate the janitor, and they learn that aside from saving Zordon, the Alliance plans to amass an armada of alien ships from the year 2014. Interesting. So that, of course, 2014, the year of Power Rangers Super Mega Force, and there was an armada there. So very interesting there.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Yellow says Stephen Lang is a villain in Marvel Comics, apparently. But it is Scott Lang that is Ant-Man, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Huh.
There's a number of production people with the name Lang, but I don't know. I think it might just be a coincidence.
Maybe. But yeah, so really interesting episode because we got to follow up on Rancic and what he was doing after the whole reinforcements from the future thing. We got to get Vesper see her family and sort of follow up on that thread there. The whole Nadira and Joe thing, very interesting. So it was kind of neat how they kind of brought it back to the whole Time Force thing because it is a Time Force sequel, and they gave us time to explore that.
Yeah, I think the episodes 16 and 17 were really cool, especially because we have this core element of the don't save Zordon thing. And so there's this overarching theme of trying to flip what we would expect or flip our understanding of a circumstance. And both of these episodes do the same thing, where Marv thinks that, he doesn't know the A Squad, so he thinks maybe the A Squad can be converted back to good, right? And then we have Rancic, who was a bad guy but is now a good guy. So they're like, do we trust this? Do we not trust this? They end up defending this former villain, and then Vesper's fighting her family. It's interesting how they flip these things on us to say well, we should like them, but actually they're doing not great stuff, or we shouldn't like them, but they're doing great stuff. It's cool. They play with that theme a lot. I like it.
Yeah, definitely. So that brings us to episode number 18, entitled Stage 4, The Armada. And this time, we have a special guest, which is Cameron Jibo as Orion, the Silver Super Mega Force Ranger. So this is pretty cool. I was glad to have Orion back because we didn't get as much of him, obviously, in that season. So just to be able to explore his character was really cool.
His tweet about screen time cracked me up.
My favorite was at the end when they were reading comments, when they were reading out the supers and the megas like they do at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Someone wrote Super Mega Force was trash, but Silver Ranger was best part. And Cameron was like, "Oh."
Yep. No, it was really interesting because I thought they were going to go in a whole different direction with this. I initially thought they were going to bring in Ciara Hanna as Gia, because I know she was originally going to be one of the HyperForce, Rangers or something. And I thought they'd bring in Gosei because he might have some knowledge of stuff, or I don't know, and be able to explore that more because Gosei was rather useless in the show. So, but what they did instead was really cool. They did talk about it.
She's like something about a tiki head.
Exactly. So with this episode here, so the Rangers learn more from Alpha 55 about the whole Warstar Armada and so on. And so Alpha 55 informs the Rangers that one of the Rangers that was responsible for the Armada's defeat came from the planet Andrasia, which was destroyed by the Armada. And so the Rangers decide that maybe this Ranger can kind of help them out. So they go to Andrasia sometime, during the year 2013 or 2014, just right after the population of Andrasia was destroyed by the Armada. Chloe chooses to remain in her Ranger form and throws on the trench coat as a disguise, of course. And this is when she does confront Vesper confronts Chloe about her hygiene for wearing her. So on the planet surface, they meet Orion, who is fishing, and so Vesper scares away his fish and annoys Orion a little bit. But Vesper reprograms their morphers to understand Orion's language because he actually speaks in Andrasian at first, which is really cool. Like the fact that he was speaking that language, which we really didn't get to hear much of, or even did we even hear it at all in the show? I don't even remember.
I don't know, but he knew it.
Yeah,
or he made it up
right into it, and then Peter started making up his language.
Yes.
Like we can't understand any of this.
And wasn't there a comment or whatever about like just because one person's an alien doesn't mean you're going to understand other alien languages or something? I was like,
it's like not aliens speak the same language.
Yeah, that was funny. So they have this whole thing about trying to catch fish, basically, and I think at this point, is this when Eddie, I think, gets the fish?
This was the best.
And he just strolls up, takes his trident and slams it into the water and grabs 2 fish.
And he drops them at his feet and he's like, boom. And then Cameron says something like, I like this guy. He gives me fish. And then Vesper says something else and he's like, I don't like you. You scare away my fish.
Yeah. Well, Eddie, this is still shortly after what happened in the last episode. So Eddie's totally messed up and just out of it because Vesper broke up with him and kissed him and whatnot. And so he's just sort of Eddie is this sort of funny, grumpy character, in addition to everybody.
Yeah. And the Vesper says, I didn't catch this. Justin3314 in the chat says Vesper says they can drop Orion off in an Andrasian meadow. And for those that don't know, Andre Meadows is Eddie. So that's funny.
Vesper had a couple lines later in this episode that they were killing me, but we'll get there in a minute.
So basically, Chloe reveals herself to Orion. She's mistaken for a robot by Orion because I think she's still in the Ranger suit and everything. So Vesper has a plan for taking care of the Armada, and so she says that she still has remnants of the Vencix virus within her, which is very interesting because she wants to use that virus against the Armada, which obviously everybody's like, oh, I don't know, that might be a bad idea because virus, who knows what will happen with that. So then, Orion's kind of telling them about their past, how he used to mine ore, and the Armada ships have been loading up on the various ores of the planet. And as Jack continues to learn more from Orion about his past, Vesper mistakes what Orion says as a pickup line and runs off telling Orion that she can't live with hurting another person emotionally. What was the line again? I'm trying to remember.
She says she's talking to Chloe outside, and he got done telling about all the quarry and everything, and she says, he said he was a minor. I'm not into younger guys. It was fantastic.
So Eddie and Marv have a little chat because because Eddie is feeling really lonely and so on. So Marv tries to cheer him up and so on. And so then Orion talks about how he found his morpher. So they kind of start talking about that. Meanwhile, Chloe finds Vesper, upset, and so tries to cheer her up. And so, because Vesper feels like she's broken and has been since Rancic infected her. But Chloe cheers her up. So the group, comes back together as an Armada ship flies by. So the Rangers and Orion follow the Armada ship to the woods, and they take cover, and they decide to attack. Eddie and Chloe team up and do attack against the Armada ship. And they take it down, I think. And so there's a remaining Armada ship that flees with a recovered X-Borg pilot. And so the Rangers commandeer the downed Armada ship and start making repairs. And this is where, yeah.
I was just saying, this is when she had that other line that killed me, because she's like, "Are you guys still cooking the fish?" And they're like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Awesome, we can have fish and ships."
That's right. Oh man, her lines are the best.
They all come like so naturally too. It's crazy.
And half the time, like Jack's reactions, or I should say Paulie's reactions, he goes, "Fish and ships," and he throws a die at her.
Like, I think one of the most entertaining things about the show that isn't specifically the show is just watching the way Paulie reacts to things and him trying to like contain himself.
His face gets so red. It's hilarious.
It really does.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, if you are watching as a podcast, like, you'll get the gist of it, but you're not really getting the full experience, and it's so much better seeing everything happen, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is when they use the remnants of the Rancic virus, and so Vesper configures a new form of the virus and installs it to repair the Armada ship with a tongue lick, turning the ship into a literal Trojan horse.
She keeps licking everything. There was one time when they were like going to go somewhere. I can't remember what episode it was, but they were going to leave, and he goes, "Here's my DNA in case you need to clean or clone me when I'm gone." And right before they leave, Paulie goes, "Hey, Alpha, clean the walls while we're gone, will you?"
That's one of my favorites. It's so good.
So this is when Marv, tells Orion, like, "Hey, we have to preserve the timeline because clearly they haven't screwed things up already. So, now they have to be very careful about the timeline, and he should come up with a cover story to how he captured the Armada ship, because basically this is the Armada ship that Orion uses to come to Earth in Super Megaforce, which is really cool. And so Orion, Chloe suggested that he shot it down with a bow, but Orion decides to go with a slingshot instead. So then Vesper tries to give away her dog to Orion. Orion declines. Orion says his goodbyes and takes off in the Armada ship as the HyperForce Rangers return to their time ship. And it was at this point that I was kind of like, okay, so is Cameron just going to sit around for the remainder of the episode?
Yeah.
Like, that's it? Are they going to end it early? Like, what's going on? I was a little confused as to what's happening. But what they end up finding out is there's a time anomaly happening, farther in the future in the year 2014, which happens to be the day of the legendary battle, of course, right? So the HyperForce Rangers get a message from the Alliance leader informing them that they are too late to stop him. But they teleport to that time period. Chloe activates her pink battle warrior form, and she goes into Emperor Mavro's Armada ship as Troy and Orion crash Orion's Armada ship into the side. So it's almost like a little side story happening while that scene from the finale of Super Mega Force is happening as well. So what we're not seeing when Troy and Orion are fighting is Chloe is sneaking around somewhere doing all sorts of stuff, which is really cool.
It reminded me of like Back to the Future 2 when like you're watching the events of Back to the Future 1 while the second Marty's like sneaking around trying to get the almanac back from Biff.
Yeah, if I ever watch that again, I'm just gonna be going, Chloe's there somewhere.
Oh, Brian, you'll never watch that again.
I know. If I did, hypothetically speaking, if I did, never will.
Yeah, it's really cool how they kind of tied that in there, basically. So with Vesper's help, Chloe activates the reconfigured Vengeance virus, causing the lead ship to blast many of the smaller Armada ships. Scorpina and Volcanos attempt to abduct the remaining Armada ships for the Alliance to use, but they have to retreat because of the spreading Vengeance virus. As Chloe makes her escape, she uses her whirlwind blast to knock Troy and Orion to safety from the exploding ship. Chloe's then damaged from the explosion, and she's forced to power down to her normal Ranger mode. So the HyperForce Rangers go back to the time ship and they monitor the Super Mega Force Rangers destroying Emperor Mavro and so on. But then they see an army of X-Borgs and Bruisers approaching, and they see all the Ranger teams start popping up. And I think at that point, Andre, as Eddie, was like, "Oh, it's Dino Thunder." And he's calling out all the season names and stuff too. And
he's like, "Look, 6 different versions of Tommy."
So, of course, they all start popping up as in the legendary battle and so on. And so Eddie's, of course, he's like, I want to join in. Let me go. And Alpha 55's like, no, you're going to alter the future and so on. But eventually they convince Alpha. And so the Rangers jump into the middle of the battle, because I think they even made a comment about there's so many other like teams anyways that people don't know about, or referencing the Sentai teams and stuff.
No one will notice us.
Exactly.
They got a fair point.
Yeah, totally. They just jumped right into it, basically. And so HyperForce is officially in the legendary battle. So if you go back and watch the episode, maybe you'll see one of them.
You can draw it on your screen and pretend it's there.
Yes.
But that's so cool. Like the fact that like they were able to tie them into the legendary battle, and obviously the legendary battle, we all know it, didn't live up to the expectations and that sort of thing. But the fact that they were to tie it into this and make it even cooler, like in a way that makes sense, because all the Rangers are not going to know each other. So if they see another Ranger team there, they're not going to think twice. They're going to be like, oh, okay, like sure, why not? So it totally made sense, and it was so cool to have HyperForce there with all the other Rangers.
Yeah, I really liked this episode. I thought it was cool that, like, the beginning was a little slow, but it was still neat. Like, they're talking to Orion and all that stuff. And then, like you said, I was confused what they were going to do, because it kind of seemed like the episode was wrapping up. And then when they talked about going back and seeing all the ships, I'm like, oh, sweet. They jumped to the finale. And then, like you said, to have all the different Ranger fights, because, like, Malika would say, okay, now you're standing here and next to you is, Time Force Blue and Mega Force Blue or something like that. And all the different things they were coming up with. Like, it was just really cool. I thought that was a really nice way to do it.
And I loved Peter's comment about the Green Samurai Ranger sounding like Tommy.
Yeah, because he was near him or something, and he's like, what did he say? Something like, oh, he was confused and he thought it was Tommy because, obviously, the whole ADR thing or whatever. And so that was pretty great to throw in that reference.
And
pretty cool.
Batmite in the chat just said, love that Tommy recognized them. I was like, get out of here.
What are you doing here?
That's pretty cool. That's cool how then you have continuity with other episodes that HyperForce has done as well.
Exactly.
So that's pretty fun as well.
Yeah.
So they help out and everything. So, Dr. Oliver's like, get out of here before you alter everything. And so with the battle one, the HyperForce Rangers offer to return Orion home to Andrasia. So what happens basically is, the team's done and the Super Mega Force team is won, and then Orion's like, hold on, guys, I I gotta go take a leak or something, I think he said, or whatever, right? So he just like runs away from the team at the end and goes off to talk to the HyperForce Rangers because he's like, what are you guys doing here? And so, they offer to have him go home to Andresia. And at first he says yes, which in my mind I was like, wait, hold on, he's not supposed to go back yet. He's supposed to go back to the team. And but then he's like, oh no, hold on, guys, I gotta wrap some things up here. And so, no thanks. I'll find my way, that sort of thing. And so I think it was Marv as well that wanted to go and pick up one of their swords or something that they just left there on the ground.
Yeah, the finale of Super Mega Force, Troy just throws his pirate sword in the sand, and then they walk off. That's like the last scene. So Peter's like, "Oh, I want to steal that sword." He's just gonna leave it there.
He wanted to take it so bad so that he could be like his namesake, but Cameron was having none of it. He's like, "No, you can't take it. I'll give it back. You can't have it. It's ours." Peter's like, I really want to take it.
I didn't even make the connection about how that's who is named after, that sort of thing. I just thought it's Peter. It's the cool sword, like the Super Mega Force sword. But that's true. Yeah, he's named after Captain Marvel.
Peter's like, but I'll make it real showy.
But yeah, so the Rangers then return to the time stream to continue their mission. So pretty cool episode. I mean, it was a fun guest. It was cool getting to see Cameron back as Orion, and they actually did some cool stuff with Super Mega Force, which is pretty neat. So definitely it's quite a fun episode. Actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
The best Super Mega Force we have gotten so far.
Yeah, they did it. They did it well. We were wondering if they were going to and how they were going to. So I'm glad they pulled it off.
Yeah, really
Definitely.
well done.
And that brings us to
the
most recent episode 19, which doesn't have a name yet because, it's not on the YouTube channel yet. So because it just aired this week. And this one was very special because they announced this one, the HyperForce Rangers would be a part of the whole Shattered Grid event that the Boom Studios Comics is doing, which is amazing. Oh my gosh. I think that's something that people thought about at the very beginning, like, oh, what if they did that? And then they're like, oh no, that's not gonna happen, And it may not have actually been in the works at that point.
Yeah, I bet it wasn't. I really think it probably wasn't. And
it was all Twitter.
Yeah, HyperForce was doing well, and they kept Melissa and Malika both kept saying, keep asking, keep tweeting, keep tagging people. So I'm happy to let the fandom take credit for that.
I have no idea if Kyle was just playing along or not, but Kyle acted like he didn't even know what a HyperForce was. and so everyone's explaining it to him, and then all of a sudden this happened, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's hard to tell sometimes because he does troll people.
Yeah, he at one point he tweeted something like, "Hey guys, settle down because that's not going to happen."
Yeah.
And he fooled us.
He fooled us twice.
Yes, multiple times.
Oh yeah. And now this is also the one where I guess I should mention that not only did they announce that they're going to do the whole Shattered Grid thing, they announced at this point that they're doing a panel at WonderCon as well. Well, Boom Studios is for Shattered Grid, but at WonderCon they're going to have the cast of Power Rangers HyperForce there, and they'll do a signing. And they actually have I think Go-Go Power Rangers number 8 issue with a variant cover featuring the HyperForce team, and it looks incredible. Oh my gosh, I need that in my life.
I want it so bad, and I'm so far away.
Yeah, there's no chance I'm making it to WonderCon, but that is definitely really, really awesome.
I know. Ugh, it's so beautiful.
I'm on Twitter going, who's going?
I know, right?
Well, I think somebody from Boom Studios said that it's not actually a WonderCon exclusive, it's a HyperForce exclusive, meaning that potentially they could have that same variant at other events in the future, potentially.
Well, and I would be absolutely flabbergasted if Hyper RPG didn't get a stack of them to do in giveaways. Oh, yeah. Because it would make no sense for them not to. So I'm really, really hoping that they're going to do giveaways. I'm going to make sure that I'm in every single live chat from here on out because I want that so bad. The cast was so excited. Like, it was so fun
their
to watch those
reactions were
announcements.
amazing.
Yeah, and then watching their tweets after the fact where you got to see not just the cast, but even the crew. Like Cameron, the writer at HyperRPG, and, you know, Zach, and them saying, like, how cool is it that something we're making is now on a comic book cover? Yeah. So it's been really, really great. I'm just like my heart is exploding for the cast and crew.
Yeah, that's so cool that they got this opportunity to do that. And if you haven't been reading the Boom Studios comics,
do it.
Go catch up on those. I know Chris is actually caught up on HyperForce, and now you're catching up on the comics too, right? So
my trades just got here today. Trades for 2, 3, and 4, which is like through issue 16, and then I went to my local comic shop and I got 17 through 24. So I will be ready by the time 25 comes out.
It's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Nice. And you got to get the Go-Go series as well, because it all ties in.
I'm having a hard time finding that, but I'm trying, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Shattered Grid, of course, super cool. We don't really know too much about it, but we know that obviously it involves some sort of event with the grid being shattered, the morphing grid or something, and there's Rangers from all different seasons, you know?
And we know that no Ranger is safe.
Yes.
It's been one of their taglines, which is like terrifying.
Definitely. Which is, you know, like, you think it's exciting that HyperForce is doing the Shattered Grid. It's also scary.
There were some amazing interactions on Twitter where, like, Christina tweeted to Kyle, like, "Don't kill me," and then, like, Megan hopped on and was like, that's like, Christina, we don't want him to kill any of us. Like, it's amazing. And Kyle was playing along, and it's so great.
Could you imagine if they just, like, killed off, like, one of the random HyperForce, and then they're like, okay, well, sorry guys, you can't come back next week because Kyle killed you in the comics. So.
Well, we've gotten so close in the game itself, and we still don't know what would happen. So, ooh, Kyle, be careful.
It's true. So with this episode, not only is it all in the Shattered Grid and everything, but very interesting. So they had Kyle Higgins, writer for the comics, as the special guest to be on the episode, and we'll learn, you know, that he ends up playing a character called Captain Michael Hicks. So we'll talk about that. But also, Malika actually gets to play as a character as well. So we'll talk about who she plays in a second. So who's going to be the GM? None other than Zach, the CEO of HyperRPG. And he is well known, for those that watch HyperRPG, to apparently be very brutal with his, you know, as GM. So everybody's freaking out when they found out that Zach was going to be the GM.
But not like, his dice rolls.
We're not safe.
Right. It all
balances. Yes, exactly. He also rolls a lot of ones. So
he tries really hard to kill people, but doesn't roll well enough to do it.
And that was a big thing in this episode, where there's so many times when he was just so frustrated, you could tell, at his dice rolls, because he wanted to be evil, but he just couldn't.
My favorite part was at the end of the episode when they were obviously running long on time, and then Kyle did the thing that he did to make it like 20 minutes longer, and you could see Zach's face was like, no! And then he's just like rushing, like, what do we do? What do we do? Roll fast, die quickly. Okay, hurry up.
That was pretty great. So let's get into the recap here. So the Rangers want to confirm that their plan to sabotage the Armada was successful. So Alpha 55 confirms that the Vengeance virus was successful. It spreads to the ships beyond Earth. But even with their success against the Alliance plan to acquire the Armada ships, the HyperForce Rangers are still unsettled, you know, knowing that additional ships were stolen from Time Force and they don't have any other leads, and so on. So Vesper decides to post about preserving Zordon's death through social media sites.
I started a hashtag, guys.
I think to which Alpha 55 was like, no, stop. And then there's something about, like, you can't edit tweets. You can only delete them. So just delete them.
Can't edit, just delete
it. Just delete it.
Which we should also mention, now that Zach is GM, he was playing Alpha 55.
And it was so good. It was so
That was
good.
like the greatest thing I never knew that I ever needed, but it was awesome.
I was like, oh no, Alpha went through puberty.
So then, as Vesper and Chloe nearly coerce Marv into singing with them, an alarm sounds out. Alpha 55 declares that a dark energy has emerged from the normal time stream and somehow entered the hyperstream. Believing that the Alliance may have obtained the ability to enter the hyperstream from one of the additional time ships they stole, they decided to investigate. So the Rangers end up going to New Tech City at an unknown point in time. So they're going back to the SPD location, which is pretty cool, very interesting. So they find the city, familiar but different. So things are a little bit different than they were previously. So they go down on foot and try and look around. Vesper overhears that an announcement that the curfew is now in effect. And Chloe sees a group of what look like Rangers, Mighty Morphin Black Rangers. So Eddie decides to investigate, but then a spotlight, is shown on him, and he's told to drop to his knees. Vesper tries to help him out, but she's also stopped. And of course, they don't tolerate Vesper's, craziness and stuff because she's trying to, joke around and everything. And so one of the Black Rangers, they have these like guns and everything. So they hit Vesper up the side of the head with the butt of his gun, to which I think Vesper's like, oh no, I got hit with the butt.
I got hit with the butt.
I got hit with the butt.
Yeah.
But this was crazy. Yeah.
This moment.
Oh, sorry. I just want to know how they saw the Black Rangers in the dark. That's all I want to know.
Yeah, good call. This moment is really, really intense, Hassan, because like Marv especially and Chloe especially like really sold the realization that these Rangers weren't what they thought they were going to be. So like Marv gets like scared real fast and is like, guys, we have to run. Like this is serious. And Chloe, there's a moment where Chloe says like, guys, I don't think these are real Rangers. Like they have real guns. And just for whatever reason, the way that Megan sold that, I was like, oof, like I'm kind of scared now. Like this would be an actually scary thing for them to experience. So that was really good the way they sold that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely they got dropped into an intense situation real quick. And it's cool, for those that have read the comics, you've seen the designs of these guys too. Like these Ranger sentries, they look pretty formidable. They're pretty intense. So that was pretty cool to kind of see them in action there. So I think Marv tries to like sneakily morph and kind of get away, but then Zach as the GM's like, well, you just morph, so there's a giant explosion behind you or something. Yeah. And it takes out the Black Ranger that had hit Vesper. So they have a little bit of a fight, and so then the Vesper is dazed and possibly suffering from a concussion, so she morphs with the awkward phrase of "It's Torfin mime."
I love that.
I really wanted her to turn into a mime.
That was great. As the battle continues, the Rangers are then saved by a group of soldiers led by Captain Michael Hicks, who's played by Kyle Higgins. And on their way to the soldiers' base of operations, Marv has this little chat with Vesper about the fact that she's, been really reckless lately and so on. And so tries to, make sure that she doesn't do anything too crazy. And so as they go back, Captain Hicks realizes these Rangers are not from this reality, their era, basically. And so, he tells them that this isn't the first time the Resistance, known as the Coinless, has met Rangers from an alternate timeline, and he basically fills them in on what's going on. And this was a cool character that Kyle got to play. I thought he had some fun with it, definitely. So it was really cool.
The coolest introduction ever, where he like does a somersault and like shoots 3 sentries with like one shot. It was awesome.
Yeah.
When he takes the one's helmet off and beats the other one with the helmet, I'm like, yeah, man.
Oh yeah.
Dude, Hicks is awesome.
That was pretty great. So then Captain Hicks basically, is going to give them the backstory. And so, he asked them if they knew about to which of Tommy Oliver's past. And of course, Eddie, as Andre, is like, I want to, I want to like chime in and so on. But I think he himself comes up with a suggestion that he has to roll for it or something. And he like fails, I think. Right. And so, this is when like he constantly keeps trying and keeps failing at his rolls, and you can just see Andre like get so frustrated because he wants to chime in with what he knows, but he can't. So basically, Captain Hicks does this whole backstory and kind of explains what's going on. In most realities, he was the Green Ranger under a spell for Rita. However, when the spell was broken, Tommy chose to stay evil, helping Rita kill Zordon and most of the Rangers, the Mighty Morphin Rangers, slowly. In a last-ditch effort, the Ninjor of this reality helped to create the White Tiger coin for Jason, but Jason was killed, and the coin was claimed by Tommy. With both the Dragon coin and the White Tiger coin in hand, Tommy fused them to create a hybrid coin and was renamed Lord Draken after one of the warriors who had served Rita Repulsa 10,000 years ago. Using the stolen Mastodon, Saber-Tooth Tiger, Pterodactyl, and Tyrannosaurus coins, Lord Draken created death squadrons known as the Ranger Sentries to enforce Rita Repulsa's rule upon the Earth. Eventually, Lord Zed would also join in on the conquest of Earth and captured New Tick City. Lord Draken then turned on Rita and Zed, eventually toppling both and taking control of the planet for himself. Captain Hicks further explains that the coin list would eventually be aided by the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers of an alternate timeline, and that the alternate ability would use the only coin of this reality not stolen, the Triceratops coin, to create an EMP disabling Lord Draken and his Ranger Sentries from morphing before the alternate Mighty Morphin Rangers go back to their reality, seemingly taking Lord Draken with them. With the power vacuum left in Lord Draken's absence, the evil forces that were under him have begun to splinter off to take control of the world. So first of all, if you have not been reading the Boom comics, your mind has probably been severely blown after hearing that. Like, what in the world? Spoilers. But yes, the Boom comics are that incredible. Like, that's the storyline that they have, which is crazy.
I didn't pay like super close attention to the chat, but I popped in every once in a while just because I was like, I wonder how people who haven't read the comics are like following along with all this. And you could definitely like see who knew exactly what was going on and who was like, wait, what is going? Like, who? When is this happening? Who's who? So it's kind of fun to see the chat.
Those poor people.
Hey.
Yeah, well. So, Chris, I guess for you, because you just watched the episode, but you haven't read the comics. So, like, were you able to follow along, or did you just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna get the general gist of it.
I tried not to listen to that part so that it wouldn't ruin too much for me. So far I've only read like the first 4 issues, so it's not too much. I haven't gotten to any Draken stuff or anything like that yet.
Sure.
Gotcha. But yeah, so pretty crazy. So basically a recap of all the Boom Studios comics leading up to this point. The dominant faction in this led by this reality Scorpina, or is led by this reality Scorpina, who seeks the power for herself. There's another faction that remains loyal to Lord Draken and led by his cyborg assistant, Finster 5, who is a character that I don't think we've seen in the comics yet, but we know is coming, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Finster 5.
Yeah.
Play in a club near you.
East Squad. What?
Yeah, I don't know. He loves East Squad.
Okay. I was really confused in the chat, and I was like, okay. But yeah, so basically, the Rangers, they meet the leader of the soldiers. They learn that the Colonel is this alternate reality's version of Lena Song, Detective Song. So the Rangers are like, hey, Detective Song, and it's played by Malika Lim, of course. And so she's like, who are you? What? Because it's an alternate version of her. But that was really cool, because the fact that Malika has now played 3 iterations of that character, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I just wish she had her SPD green power still.
Well, the thing is, we don't know in this reality if if
Like,
she ever was
SPD
SPD.
probably doesn't exist.
Yeah,
in
that's
this
true.
timeline.
Yeah, I know there's so much that we've been teased as a result of like getting comic images and stuff like that, but we still don't fully know what happens in this timeline past the point that we've seen so far. So yeah, who knows? Does SPD ever exist? Do those powers ever get created? Like it's fun to think about. Answers coming soon.
Definitely. So basically, so Chloe tries to bring down some food, and so she says that she has a bunch of junk food stored under her bed. Oh, I didn't talk to you, Siri. I don't know why you're trying to. That was weird. Siri just said hello.
She heard burritos.
That's not creepy at all. Okay.
Here's what I found on the web for burritos near you.
The Vendrix virus has infected my my HomePod.
Oh no.
But let's see. So there's this whole thing about they're trying to all come up with a plan for what's going on and what to do. And so they decide that they want to rescue some of the coinless from one of Scorpina's prisons. But Colonel Song warns them that they have to be cautious because the Ranger sentries may unleash the Great Destroyer upon them. So we're like, ooh, what's the Great Destroyer? So the different soldiers, Major Galushi, Scout Fidget, and Private Rice, decide to sneak into the prison. So
Fidget.
They're really interesting because Fidget, right? The way that Zach played him was like he was obviously fidgeting all over the place and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun to see him play that. And then Vesper has the one scene where she grabs Fidget and just starts spinning him, which was great.
I knew it was only a matter of time before a fidget spinner joke got made.
Right? Oh, man. So let's see. So soldiers want to sneak into the prison using an underground tunnel while the HyperForce Rangers cause a distraction at the main gate by using the explosions of Jack's morph and the spare bomb that Vesper has gifted to Chloe after having dealt with the A-Squad. So when they're doing all this...
dynamite.
Yeah, they just pull it out of... Yeah, that's right. That was funny. So then, what I thought was kind of funny, they're ready to fight. So then Marv's like, I'm just going to summon my Lion HyperForce sword and just drop in on everything. So he summons a Zord to deal with a bunch of sentries. There's Mastodon and Sabretooth sentries there. And then, so Colonel Song and Vesper make their way to the server room to try and download documents pertaining to the Great Destroyer, which we find out is the nickname given to this reality's Serpentera. Ooh.
Nice.
So Serpentera's in here. The rescued members of the Coinless inform the other soldiers and the HyperForce Rangers that the person that they've been calling Captain Hicks is an imposter, as they witness the fate of the real Captain Hicks. So who could he be? So Captain Hicks then reveals himself to be Finster 5's monster, the pumpkin wrapper of all things. And he does it with a rap. He reveals himself with a rap, which was great. And he starts this whole rap battle with Eddie.
Dude, Eddie was dropping some serious rhymes because you could tell he did not know Pumpkin Rapper was coming, so that was all off the cuff.
Yep. That was awesome. Very impressive.
Oh my gosh.
Good job, Andre. Proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. Got skills.
I'm still like the pumpkin rapper of all things. Like, it's so funny how this has become a thing.
Yeah, he's like meme status now.
So, he's there, he's doing his rapping and so on. The Rangers do massive damage to the pumpkin wrapper because I think Zach was rolling terrible rolls and everybody's, not doing, so on. The Rangers are actually rolling good rolls this episode. So they forcing the pumpkin wrapper to grow in an unstable manner and risking explosion.
This is when Zach went into panic mode because they were over time.
Exactly. And we had, what,
Let's get
15
this
or
done.
20 minutes left, I think?
We should be done by now. Why are you growing? Wait, no, stop.
He's like, I'm gonna grow large. Zach's like, what?
What's great is like at that moment, Zach is like, I mean, I guess this is your world. You created it. So like, how does that happen? And Kyle was like, all right, well, I'm going to take this opportunity. Here's exactly what happens. And there's a huge pumpkin wrapper.
Exactly. Because then I think he even mentions at one point, he's like, well, when you become big, you get 200 more HP. And I was like, oh God, this is going to last forever. But then I think Zach's like, yeah, I'm not doing that or something. He's like, we can't, we don't got time for that.
Zach's like, oh wait, you exploded. Okay, we're moving on.
But yeah, basically, so they have to come up with a reason to end the episode quickly. So rather than continuing the fight, Pumpkin Wrapper decides to inflict as much damage as possible and basically just self-destructs and suicide bombs the prison and the HyperForce swords, basically, which is pretty crazy. So the Zords are mostly okay, but Jack and Vesper get injured. And I think this is the point when most of the Ranger sentries were vaporized, but all the prisoners that they were trying to save were also killed. So a bunch of innocent lives got killed in this battle, which is pretty intense because in the past that they've been successful at saving people through some of this, but
yeah, it got really dark really fast. Zach's like, they're all dead. They're like, what about these people? Nope, dead. Oh, okay.
Zach sees the opportunity to cause some death the moment he saw fit.
Yep.
Here's my chance to strike after all these ones.
Trying to roll against this.
Exactly. Yeah, you go from the Pumpkin Wrapper with his rap battles to all these innocent people are now dead. It's like, oh, okay, whoa, what just happened?
Jack, you have like 10 HP left.
Yeah, I got low, definitely. Yeah. So as Marv, Chloe, and Eddie check on Vesper and Jack, they're then surrounded by incoming trucks filled with saber-tooth tiger Ranger sentries. And then a squad of Tyrannosaurus Ranger sentries drops in from an airship, along with a menacing figure that the Rangers immediately recognize as Lord Draken.
Oh!
Dun, dun, dun! End of episode.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy. So we know next episode is going to continue the Shattered Grid thing, and JDF is going to be back, but he's going to be playing Lord Draken, which is going to be very interesting. I feel like at the time this was
an apt word.
Yeah, right. But I feel like he does better at evil characters than he does like regular in a way. So that might be.
Let us hope.
Just make sure that you close the door to the Zord when you leave.
Yeah.
Be very, very interesting. But I feel like when HyperForce first started and everybody's coming up with theories on who the Alliance leader was, one of my theories initially, which I don't think is true, was that Lord Draken, was the Alliance leader or something. And I was like, that'd be cool if they got JDF to come and play Lord Draken. And then they had JDF come on and he just played Dr. Tommy Oliver. So I was like, okay, there's that. But I didn't think that they would then bring him back again to play Lord Draken for Shattered Grid, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Cat agrees.
Can't argue with that.
I am excited though. I'm very excited, but I agree. It's already gone through, but somebody was mentioning Draken shows up and we have two Rangers who have very, very little HP at the moment. So I'm nervous. See what happens.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting situation. Hopefully they can get those guys out of there and off to safety quickly. Or use Eddie's healing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got Zach GMing again because Malika is going to be playing, Lena Song still. And instead of Kyle, JDF is going to be popping back in, I think, right? Or is Kyle still going to be there?
I didn't get the sense that he was coming back, but I don't know for sure. I'm
Yeah, I
sure
think
someone in the chat caught
in
it.
the fireside they were kind of saying like, "Oh, everyone wants you to come back, Kyle," and he was like, meh. So who knows? I mean, he could, but I kind of don't think so.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty crazy way to get to where we are now. I mean, I'm just thinking about the fact that we're at episode 19, and you look at all the stuff that has happened. Like, it's just insane to think about all the different time periods from the Ranger series that they've gone to, just the character development. I mean, from all angles. I mean, they've done some really, really cool stuff with HyperForce.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, what do you guys? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Like honestly, I was never expecting something like this when the show initially was announced. I was like, "Oh, this could be fun to watch." Like I'm, like when it was announced, I was just kind of like dipping my toes into D&D and stuff, and so I was like, "Oh, this is really cool. Kind of matches my interests right now. I'll totally check this out." And I was not expecting this, like this wide of a scope and this, like so much like tangible canon things happening and all that. I was not expecting that at all when this was announced, and so that's super cool, and it's like my highlight of the week, to be honest.
Yeah, I look forward to it a lot. Like they do so much good stuff that I can't wait for when you get to, or when I get to watch it.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say. So, what do you guys think? Well, what are you expecting from the last? We have 6 more episodes. That's it, which is sad to see.
I don't know what to do with my life.
Yeah,
and we know the next one is Shattered Grid, but then after that, who knows?
I was trying to think like what else they could do, and I feel like they've already done a pretty decent like scattering of like seasons. Like we've seen RPM, we've seen Time Force, obviously, we've seen even to a lesser extent Mystic Force because they kind of went to Briarwood, but we didn't really see a lot of the Rangers there. But I feel like it's a decent, like there's no large pocket of the years of Rangers that they missed. You know what I mean? Like we saw Dino Thunder, we saw what am I blanking on? But do you know what I mean? Like there's no like large gap. Like we've seen Disney,
Right.
We've seen Saban, we've seen Neo Saban. So everything's been fairly decently represented.
I feel like with 6 episodes left, we know 1 Shattered Grid, so that leaves 5. I'm hoping anyway that they get Christopher Lee to come on.
Yeah, probably for the finale.
Probably, I wouldn't say the finale because I hope Aaron Cahill comes back for the actual finale.
That's true.
But like the one before the finale, just because, I mean, if the Alliance leader makes it all the way to like that moment in time with Countdown to Destruction, then like you have to have like Christopher Kamen Lee there. Like there's no way around it. Like you have to try to get him on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you would do it.
Yeah, I do too. I do wonder like if I do wonder if like the last 4 or 5 episodes are going to be, full 5-part or 4-part continuation, right? Like we've seen, I think the most is maybe 3 parts of the same sort of era or the same chunk. But after the Shattered Grid part 2, I wonder just how much is going to be just finale, like I could see it happening.
Yeah, just do a really huge like 4-part finale lead up. Get TJ back for Turbo, and then go right into Andros and In Space.
That would be so awesome.
Yeah, I could see them doing like 1 more episode maybe of like one other season in between as like the little precursor to the finale because they gotta decompress after Shattered Grid or something, and I feel like the episode after Shattered Grid might just be the regular cast, because they like to do those episodes where they just sort of do that. Maybe one other little potential thing, and then right into the finale, like the last couple episodes.
Well, one of the biggest things, the plot points that we haven't gotten any resolution on yet, is Chloe's parents. So I wonder if we'll get an episode that at least offers some sort of resolution or progression of that, and then go into the finale, or maybe they like return for the finale, or like something like that. I can think of a lot of things that we've gotten some resolution for, but we haven't gotten anything for that.
I just thought of something. Now, Chloe's parents got like lost in time or something, right? Or we don't know what quite happened to them. They just disappeared.
Yeah, we don't really know.
What if her dad becomes the Phantom Ranger?
Whoa!
Because we never really got an idea of who the Phantom Ranger is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then you could, because in Countdown to Destruction, you have all those kind of like side rangers off fighting battles on different planets. Like you had Blue Centurion and Phantom Ranger and Gold Ranger and stuff like that. So you could have her dad turn out to be the Phantom Ranger and come in and work into the Countdown to Destruction finale where they're trying to save Zordon, and then you can bring Christopher Lee in.
That would be wild.
That'd be
and I'd
crazy.
be here for it.
So Philly Superman in the chat is saying that Christopher Kamen Lee has said that he's going to be on HyperForce in April. He said it to that hashtag show, and they announced it on last week's episode 17 Ranger Wrap-Up of HyperForce, and they mentioned again on episode 18 Ranger Wrap-Up.
Well, there you go.
So I'll have to go check those videos, so thank you for that.
So everything I just said is confirmed. Awesome.
I mean, I would have been very, very, very surprised if the whole season hinged on this in space moment and Christopher Kamen Lee hadn't already, been involved in some way.
Yeah. And I think Malika mentioned there's one character that she like really wanted to get on the show. And I had a feeling as soon as she said that it was him, because it all ties into the whole in space thing and so on.
Yeah.
That might said in the chat, the only guest will be bummed if they don't have her on is Allison McInnes from Lightspeed, because she's the only actor I know of who said she's a D&D player. That'd be cool if they do, one more little brief episode. They go to Lightspeed or something.
Yeah, they could do that as the like you said, the cool down episode or something, or the one last kind of like filler-ish episode before they get to the end.
Yeah, I think they want to. I think if I'm not remembering incorrectly, I don't think Hyper knew that she was a gamer like that, and I think they said like if we had known that, we would have been, probably on top of it. So they know now. It's just a matter of whether or not they can fit it
Season
in.
Season
I know, right? I want one. Hassan,
you guys think we'll get one?
I don't know, but regardless of whether they announce a season 2 or not, at the end of it all, we should do a what we want out of a season 2, because it would be fun if they did one to see how much of what we talked about we ended up either getting or being like way off.
Yeah, that'd be so cool to do a video and see, what the potential could be for a second season.
Yeah, like you said, I don't know if this is like just happening because of the 25th anniversary, or if it does well enough, they'll do a season 2. I mean, I'm sure the guys at Hyper RPG would want to do another season. It's got to be a great deal for them to, it's boosting all their stuff. So I would think.
Yeah, based on what I know of their shows and their models, if it's a show that's just their own show, it's very dependent on whether they have funding for it. When they're partnering up with somebody, it adds like the extra element of, 1, do we have the funding for it? And 2, does the company we're pairing with want to do it again?
Yeah.
And if Power Rangers doesn't want to do it again, then unfortunately Hyper RPG is like kind of screwed and they can't do more. So I hope both sides are on board.
Right.
It pulls in pretty decent numbers, so
it does. I don't know if it's necessarily
good enough.
Right. Right.
It did.
That's up to Papa Saban. And Yoshi needs to come back at least one more time before it ends. Because it's like right now he's just in the future sorting things out with.
That's the perfect thing. After the finale happens, then they go back to their present time for his wedding to Nadira. That's how they end everything.
That would be amazing. Their little post-credit scene.
Their post-credit scene is actually that Nadira's pregnant.
Oh my!
Oh man!
And that's your 7th Ranger for season 2.
figured it
there's
all
so
out.
much that they could do with the show. I mean, nobody thought at the beginning that we'd be here in Shattered Grid with all this. I mean, who knew that all this stuff was going to happen? So there's lots of potential for what could come in the future. So definitely exciting to. So yeah, I don't know. Any other things that you guys want to mention? Otherwise, probably start to wrap things up.
I don't think so. I'm just super, super excited to see Shattered Grid in all the spheres. So I'm excited to see how this relates to the stuff we're going to read and how it then bounces back and all that sort of. The next few weeks are very exciting.
Like, I'm just happy that like my two favorite facets of Power Rangers right now, HyperForce and the comics, are like tying in and like partnering up and doing all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, you guys rock. And then just happens and I get sad.
I just can't wait till the end of the show when they reveal that the Alliance leader is just Victor on Monty's shoulders in a cape. It's going to be pretty special.
So, actually, what? One final thing to end it on. Who do you think is the Alliance leader? Any thoughts? I mean,
I just revealed it.
Yeah,
so we know Chris's prediction right there.
I also like
and
how
it's a good one. It's pretty valid.
I like how it's Victor on Monty's shoulders.
How
That's
else would
totally
it be?
backwards, but it's exactly how
But it's
it
how
would
they
be.
would do it.
It is.
Oh, I don't know. Because are we expecting that it has to be somebody we will already know, or will it remain an original character?
I feel like I could be wrong. I feel like it has to be something we know, because otherwise, why make it all mysterious? Like there's an or like why do all that if and they're always so coy about saying any.
Yeah, they can never see his face, and they don't know who he is. So they do keep it very, very secret. So yeah, they're probably banking on that reveal.
What if it's Thrax? Maybe. No, that's a dumb idea.
Wait, who's Thrax?
I don't think anybody's necessarily off the table because we know nothing about who it is yet. Like, we literally know nothing.
Right.
I mean, it could literally be anyone when you think about, like, the different timelines and everything, or just all the random seasons. I mean, it could be, like, a Zed or something from a different timeline, or a Rancic from a different timeline, or, it could be, like, anything like that. I mean, there's so much possibilities as far as who they want to make it.
What are the odds that it's a former Ranger?
I mean, it definitely could be. Who do you think it would be, though?
I have no idea. I don't know who would fit into that. But that would certainly be one of the biggest sort of like, whoa type moments,
Yeah.
What are you?
Just like Primator.
Primator has been
it could.
Poor guy, he's just floating in space somewhere. I wonder if they came and got him.
He finally cut off to that banana, though, so it's okay.
It is fun seeing people's theories in here. Somebody says Zed or Thrax is a good idea. Someone says, what if it's Andros? Someone says good odds that it's a former Ranger.
Or
Otherworld Kim.
Oh, wouldn't that be interesting if it was Andros? They bring him into the finale, and this whole time they're trying to, get to Andros, and I don't know, maybe he regrets he got turned evil and he regrets killing Zordon, or I don't know, something.
The guilt he feels from killing Zordon drives him insane, so he tries to go back in time and change it. Or I was going to say, that could be, you make Chloe's parents, Chloe's mom is the Alliance leader, and then you can still do the Chloe's dad as the Phantom Ranger.
Gosh. I don't know if I'd be able to handle myself if it turns out her parents disappeared and are leading the Alliance.
It could be one of her parents. That would be nice.
Oh my gosh. That'd be a lot. That would be a lot.
I kind of like it, though.
I do too. I really do.
Because they keep bringing them up, especially recently, so it might be because it's building. Although I kind of like the guilty Andros theory too. I like a lot of these theories.
Yeah. It's gonna be, that's what's gonna be happening in the next few weeks. It's literally, once we get towards the end, everyone's just gonna be trying to figure it out. So someone says Ernie.
It's Ernie.
Ernie from MMPR.
It's the principal with the toupee. What was his name?
Oh shoot, Principal
Kaplan.
Kaplan. Thank you.
That's so funny.
Yeah, Mrs. Appleby scored his advances.
Yeah.
She scored his advances, so he became a crazy Time Lord.
Mm-hmm.
I like Miss Appleby as the alliance leader.
Yeah, I dig it.
Oh man.
Think of all the people that would go to her table at Morphicon.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, who knows? And it looks like I am having some like connection difficulties and stuff too, because I think I'm like cutting in and out or something.
Yeah,
so
transforming into Hassan Bot 2000.
I'm actually secretly an android, just like Vesper.
I knew it.
Oh no, your Siri has Venjix. Watch out.
Oh, that's true. Vengeance is infecting. It's all Vesper's fault.
Dude, I'm sorry, but Batmite just said Ernie seeking revenge on Eddie for making him pay all those guys $20 back in 1990. That's fantastic.
Pumpkin Rapper is
Great
the alliance
theory.
leader. There's so many great theories. I personally like the Victor and Monty one. I think that one's
Of course.
you know,
This whole
but,
thing has just been a waste so that Victor can go back in time to get his 50th trophy.
There it is.
Oh man. Well, I think it'll be exciting to see what happens next. I think what we'll probably end up doing, because I usually do these once a month or so, but since there's 6 episodes left, if I do another one, there's only going to be another episode or 2. I think it might just make sense to do this last one, kind of our 5th round, our 5th little video, as like the final recap after the last 6 episodes. So we'll wait and see what happens in those 6 episodes. Should be really interesting, and yeah, I think that's it, guys. So.
Cool.
Thank you to everybody for watching, and in the chat, you guys were awesome for posting all your comments, and thank you to you all for joining me. I'll let you guys kind of let everybody. We'll start with you.
Someone forgot to oil Hassanbot.
I think we're plugging, yeah.
And Shuki's dying.
When am I not, though? Let's be honest.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry, Hassan. What did you want?
Am I?
So I think this is normally where we would plug where people can find us and what we're doing. So
Go ahead.
I probably have the least amount. So to give you a moment there, Brian, I will say that you can find me on Twitter at Ikkybooley, ICKYBOOLEY. Not a lot going on there unless you like reality TV. I tweet about Survivor and Big Brother Canada and RuPaul's Drag Race. So find my stuff.
Is Big Brother Canada like really polite? Like, is there as much drama, or do they just like, oh, is it your turn to use the bathroom? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
it's dinner tonight.
A lot of sorries and a lot of kindness. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hey, you guys want to play Monopoly?
But very, very politely. No one's screwing over anybody.
Awesome.
Chris, where can people find you?
All kinds of places. You can find my YouTube videos on youtube.com/longstoys. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Longs Toys, and my Twitter is clong83. And also me and Shuki over here, if he survives the night, do a podcast together called Geek Each Week. So you can find that on iTunes, and we're on Twitter and Facebook at Geek Each Week as well.
Perfect. Brian?
All right, you can check out all my toy reviews and other such content at youtube.com/YouTube. Whoa. There's way too many syllables in that. youtube.com/CollectorShuki. Follow me on Twitter at CollectorShuki. And that's really all that matters, because I don't use any other social media platforms because they scare me.
Perfect. And Hassan!
All right. Hopefully the Vengeance virus doesn't take me over again. If you don't hear from me in the next hour on Twitter, Vengeance has taken over.
Check the Dome City of Corinth.
I'll record a little radio thing that will be broadcast over and over. All right, I'm going to end it before there's any more technical issues. But thank you all so much, and we'll talk again next time.
Bye.
Thanks for having me, buddy. This was a blast.
Yeah.